What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Thought I was dead, didn't you? Yeah, well, I ain't dead. Let me take you back to the sunny days of 2014. There I was, sat with my tablet clutched in my grubby little hands. The first video I clicked on as an 8-year-old was this.
Okay, I can't exactly see what you're doing. I can only hope that it's good. Well, that's not good! Oh.
Gritty, campy, covered in blood and dirt, and fucking horrible shit. Ugh, get away from me, big scary man. It was Shinji Mikami's brainchild, The Evil Within. Overall, pretty inappropriate for my small, shriveled rat brain at the time, and a lot of the horror to me was very surface level. As in, oh balls, he's got a chainsaw. Oh shit, the zombies have seen me. Ah, that man is balding! But I feel like with horror games like The Evil Within, the true fear goes over your head in the moment-to-moment gameplay. We miss the wider point in the face of all the muck. In this video, I'm going to try and deconstruct what I believe the point actually is, holistically. This is agency and horror in The Evil Within. Before we take a look into this concept, first let's briefly summarise what The Evil Within is all about. You play as Sebastiancastellanos, possibly the grisliest, most handsome, sexy, and by-the-numbers stubble protagonist ever, tasked with investigating a gruesome homicide at the Beacon Mental Hospital. The setting is dreary and modern, a rain-soaked concrete jungle called, Crimson City, really. Like, actually, with a K. Jesus Christ, it'd be more fitting to call it fucking Cornball City with writers like that. Did fucking Kojima write this? Upon your arrival, something is wrong. There are plenty of cruisers knocking about, but nobody is there to greet you. The place is a mess, bodies littering the floor and shiny, gooey blood textures splattered all over the shop. There's some kind of a evil within. You and your trusty partners stumble upon one lone survivor, Dr. Marcelo Jimenez, in the security room.
Are you injured? What happened here?
Can't be real. Impossible. Ruvik is...
I've got him.
You check the live feed and see the terrifying sight of a murderous white man in Assassin's Creed garb glitching around as policemen actually fire at him. The first immersion-breaking instance that reminds us that this is a pure work of fiction. The figure aura farms his way into the office behind you and hits you with the Rosemary Kennedy special, and you conked out for the time being. What follows is 10 to 15 hours of the jankiest, clunkiest, most brilliant, gory fun I have had ever while shitting myself.
Let us fight man versus tiny baby man.
The story is interesting and drip-fed to us, mostly through gameplay sections rather than cutscenes, but that's been covered by more than enough video essayists of a far better caliber than me, so I'll just encourage you to go out and play it for yourself, and summarise. The entire game is set in a connected simulated world called STEM, within the mind of Ruvik, a psychopath and the one who stabbed you in the introduction to the game. All the monsters and horrors you witness are born from different sects of his brain trying to flush you out. Your junior partner, Julie Kidman, is a double agent working for the organisation who built STEM, Mobius. What I want to do is apply my idea of the horror of agency to that story. So, let's finally dissect this nightmare piece by piece. Firstly, what do we actually mean by agency? Thomas S. Bateman, yeah, that's his actual name, writes in Psychology Today that, in the psychological sense, agency entails a category of beliefs, a mindset. More profoundly, genuine agency includes the strategies and actions that accomplish what we want and bring us what we need. In short, it's the conscious control that we feel we have over ourselves and our lives. What the Evil Within does is warp our sense of control to derive terror from it. To those who have no idea what they're getting into, the game rarely gives you any indications as to what may lie ahead for you. There is no objective for the first 7 or 8 chapters or so other than work out what the hell is going on and survive, as Sebastian doesn't even realise that he's trapped in Ruvik's mind. Other games in the same genre such as Silent Hill 2 and Resident Evil 4, which Mikami himself worked on, have an overarching and consistent goal to work towards. James Sunderland needs to find his wife. Leon Kennedy needs to rescue the president's daughter. Sebastian has nothing. One minute he was analysing a horrific yet grounded homicide, the next he was hanging upside down in Mr. fucking Anger Issues' slaughterhouse, testing the world's worst slip and slide with a boo-boo on his leg. Like Sebastian, the player is thrown into the bloody, gory pit of the evil within with little warning, and left with one dominant feeling by the end of Chapter 1. Bewilderment. As Crimson City crumbles around him, our protagonist tries desperately to assess the situation from the back of an ambulance, with Kidman, Connolly the driver, Dr. Jimenez, and Leslie the mental patient. First, where the hell are all the people? Why is no one panicking and screaming in the streets? Where is his other partner, Joseph? How could this disaster be happening so quickly? And he is given nothing, no answers, and no time as they plunge off a cliff. This total lack of agency is where our first deeper fears manifest, as we pilot this directionless and lone detective through the nightmare. In the other games I mentioned, the player at least knows what they're striving towards, whether the protagonist knows it or not. Here, neither you nor Sebastian have a clue. The journey is aimless, and the deeper into Ruvik's mind you sink, the more we are bounced around at random. It feels hopeless. There's no security in knowledge. The more Sebastian learns about Ruvik and STEM, the more the odds seem to stack. Ruvik can teleport, control minds, summon rabid creatures, and shift the planes of reality as he sees fit. As he himself says to Sebastian and the player in Chapter 9,
But either way, you're mine. To do with as I please.
Throughout the game, notably outside of save room mirrors, Sebastian's backstory is revealed to us. It's relatively simple and pretty underdeveloped. Castellanos met and fell in love with a fellow detective, Myra, and they quickly married and had a daughter, Lily. When Lily was 6, Sebastian's house burnt down in a mysterious fire, supposedly killing Lily with it. Myra became consumed with paranoia, believing that their daughter was taken by a shadowy organization. She left the broken detective to find out who really started the fire and kidnapped their daughter, and so Sebastian was left alone for 2 years by the time the game begins. The agency in his life burns up with the house, so the way the game randomly throws us about in the mind of Ruvik is all too familiar. This is what I believe Sebastian is truly afraid of deep down, losing control over his life. Sebastian is implied to have sunken into an alcoholic depression, and some scenes in the DLC reveal that he often crossed lines to solve cases.
Is this what it was like, Seb? After the accident?
Well, I never put a gun to my head.
No, of course not. Just quietly sank into a bottle.
Ironically, violence was the only way he felt he could regain agency over his life, just like in this nightmare scenario he now finds himself in. The objective constantly switches for the first 7 or 8 chapters, often through short-term plans. Escape the sadist, find your partners, flee from Laura, rescue Joseph, get a lay of the land. And every time you think you're making progress, the game throws Sebastian into some other chamber of horrors. It's only when the nature of STEM is fully revealed that the core objective becomes to reach the Beacon Mental Hospital's tower light at the center of Ruvik's world. I've seen some theories state that the reason Seb was able to overcome STEM is that the bar for his breaking point didn't exist anymore. He'd already lost everything. This is a good way to explain how detached he looks and sounds throughout the story, never sounding anything more than tired and confused. He sounds subdued, already lost. Ruvik had no ace in the hole with which to twist him with. With Joseph, he tapped into his perfectionism and suicidal thoughts.
What the hell? It's just a matter of time. I'm not worried about stopping it, Seb. I'm worried about not wanting to stop it.
With Julie, he manifested her shaky loyalties towards Mobius.
You failed. We gave you an order and you failed.
No. None of this is real. You aren't real.
With Sebastian, he can only throw violent beasts his way. It's more like a cornered animal lashing out than a surgical attack on his psyche. As scary as everything in STEM is, Ruvik is confused as to why he's unable to break Seb. And this brings me to my other point. You are irrelevant in the wider story. He describes people he's kidnapped as microbes and vermin. So what do you think he thinks of you? Someone who he never even wanted in STEM, not even to torture. Everything you do is by pure chance, fighting your way out of the equivalent of Ruvik's wastepaper basket as he tries to swat you. You are an intruder, not chosen prey, an annoyance to be toyed with and ultimately torn to fucking pieces on a whim. You're not even totally safe or in control in the safe room, for God's sake, as the influence of Ruvik rots and sometimes breaches the space. You are an accident. This is no better exemplified than when it is revealed in both the main game and, more to the point, the DLC, that when you were in the car on your way to Beacon, the ringing sound you heard from the radio was STEM sending out a remote signal to pull you in wirelessly. Throughout the game, the player may have thought, "Oh, bollocks, if only we hadn't accepted the call to go into Beacon, maybe none of this would ever have happened." But the twist is, you never had a choice. You never had any agency. You never stood a chance. Kidman was sent into STEM to do the dirty work of the ones who built it, and you just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. You were sucked into Ruvik's hellscape by complete fluke. This only adds to the overwhelming helplessness you feel throughout the game, on a gory ride you never signed up for. You are not the main character of this story. You're a bystander who got caught up in something much, much bigger. An oddity. Most chapters start with you falling from the sky, down a hole, through a tunnel, dropped into another death trap without a waypoint to guide you. Even in the finale, you're standing at the side of it all, watching in confusion as the mental patient you've been chasing on and off all this time falls into Ruvik's hands. Ruvik needs him to get out into the real world by puppeteering his body. The final fight is just as chaotic as the rest of the game, tossed into a whirling vortex and hunted by a bestial giant that dwarfs Seb. Even now, at the peak of his upgrades and weapons arsenal, all he can do is run. He's just a tiny gnat, not even worth the effort of kidnapping for fun, a nobody who was pulled into this world by chance. Victory comes when Sebastian uses the violence that gave him a shred of agency this whole time to shoot Ruvik's monstrous form to shit with one last bullet, and the psycho is blown to pieces. The final gameplay section is a symbol of Sebastian taking back control over this nightmare. This is what all that built-up fear and frustration culminates to, with you reclaiming your agency here in this warping sci-fi hell. He wakes up, still in STEM, in a throbbing, pulsing room, surrounded by entry pods. He stumbles towards Ruvik, who is just a brain in a jar, and...
I'm going to finish this.
Seb wakes up. STEM is destroyed along with Ruvik's brain, and everyone you met along the way is dead, save for Kidman, who's pissed off somewhere, Joseph, who is lost in STEM, and Leslie. The battered detective looks like he can scarcely believe he's out, tweaking his way down to the bloody lobby and stumbling out of the doors. He sees Leslie, walking with confidence, Ruvik piloting. We hear one last ringing sound, presumably as STEM shuts down its remote capabilities, and Leslie is gone. We made it out. Our agency has been restored, but it's empty, hollow. Sebastian is back to his old life. Alcoholism, no wife, no daughter, and now, no friends. Nobody will believe him. And it's a long, lonely 3 years for him before he gets any answers. We took back control in the dream world, but our life is just as directionless as it was before. And as the credits roll, the familiar hopelessness sets in once more. The detective is back to square one. Thanks for watching. I know it's been a while, but I only make videos when I think the idea is worth pursuing and putting out there. Quality over quantity and all that good stuff. You know the drill. Like the video if you liked it, and dislike it if you didn't. And be sure to offer your own ideas and interpretations in the comments. Or not. Whatever. I'm gonna go into hibernation for another 4 months. Ta-ra.